Hello, I'm David Bulow, Director of Educational Programs at Proformative, the online community for corporate finance, accounting, treasury, and related professionals. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's technology demo, Unlock the Business Insights Within Core Financial Data. Forget the one-size-fits-all approach to meeting your financial and business needs. Learn how Flex Accounting, a capability of Intacct's financial solution, empowers your finance organization to understand and manage what's important to your unique business. Find out how Flex Reporting allows you to track not just standard financial metrics, but your key business metrics too. And witness firsthand how Flex Reporting delivers this complete and accurate information without the burden of extra cost, external tools, and IT. I would like to thank Intacct for helping us make this event possible and for their generous support. A few items before we get started. I want to thank those who are returning, and those of you who are new, welcome. Proformative is the fastest growing online resource for senior level corporate finance, treasury, and accounting professionals. We provide a uniquely valuable online peer network which provides direct subject matter expert advice. We also recently launched our new Proformative Exchange, which is like Yelp but for corporate fin products and services you may be using now or like to use. Please check it out at proformative.com. All of this comes to you noise-free and without any advertisements. A link to today's presentation and a recording of this event will be sent out to all attendees within 24 hours. If you'd like the current presentation to follow along, it is already posted on proformative.com/resources for you to download. There is no CPE credit for today's event. We encourage you to ask questions by using the question box in the GoToWebinar panel. We will do our best to have them answered. If we do not get to your question, we will forward them to today's speakers so they can follow up with you directly. You'll be asked to take a short, less than 1 minute survey at the end of this presentation. Please give us this last minute so we can continue to bring you the best possible content and continually improve. It is a great pleasure now. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Vijay. Vijay is Intacct's Director of Product Marketing, where he helps organizations understand how they can tap into the power of the cloud to streamline financial management processes and gain new insights to drive business strategies. Prior to Intacct, Vijay was at Taleo, where he helped HR organizations leverage the cloud to make their talent acquisition and performance management process more effective. Vijay has over 15 years of experience in the software industry and holds a BA in economics from Stanford University and an MBA from the University of California, Berkeley. And now, I'll turn it over to Vijay.
Thanks, David. And on behalf of Greg and myself, wanted to thank those of you from the Proformative community who are joining us today to learn a little bit more about Intacct Flex Reporting. Flex Reporting is all about empowering your finance team to understand and manage what's uniquely important to your business. And so what Greg and I have today is an overview of Intacct's capabilities. I'm going to set the context for you a little bit by telling you why we introduced Flex Reporting and why we think it's important to finance organizations. And Greg is going to walk through a demonstration of capabilities. So with that rough agenda, I just wanted to introduce those of you who are new to Intacct and tell you a little bit more about who we are. We are a best-in-class cloud financial management and accounting provider. We've got over 6,000 customers, and those customers represent a range of customer types. We've got customers who are outgrowing their first financial management and accounting solution like QuickBooks. We've got customers that are rapidly growing and establishing distributed and global operations. And we've also got customers who are getting ready to go public or have gone public on Intacct. And so we've got a wide swath of customers that are leveraging our cloud financial management and accounting capabilities. And there's two sources for our customer success. One is the focus that we have on customer satisfaction and retention. Every Intacct employee, myself and Greg included, have a portion of our compensation tied to customer satisfaction. But the second reason for the tremendous amount of traction and growth that we've seen is our technology. And today we're going to focus on one aspect of that technology, which is the visibility, the reporting, and the insight. But to put it in context, just wanted to touch on some of our other capabilities that we have. There's really 5 key ways customers are getting value out of Intacct. The first is through automation, that's giving our customers speed and efficiency across all key financial management and business processes. The second way they're getting value is with the unparalleled visibility that Intacct has given them into the financial and operational metrics that are important to run their business. And this area, the second area here, is really going to be the focus of today's demonstration. But the third way that they're driving value through Intacct is the ability to quickly and easily adapt our technology to changing business conditions. As I mentioned earlier, we have many of our customers that are experiencing significant growth. They're looking for ways to adapt to that growth, to manage that growth, and they've gotten a tremendous amount of value from our technology in being able to adapt to that. The fourth way they're driving value is really through the freedom that our approach and our focus on financials is giving our customers the ability to choose the best solutions for each area of their business. And of course, we're a cloud solution, and so the final element of value has come really from the improved productivity, lower risk, and lower costs that come from the fact that Intacct is a pure cloud solution. Now, as I mentioned earlier, today we're going to focus on the visibility that we provide, and particularly unique to the visibility that we provide is a capability that we call Flex Reporting. So Flex Reporting, in its essence, is all about how you manage performance. Now, most finance organizations look at 2 types of metrics to help manage performance. The first set of metrics are what I call financial metrics. And so these metrics tend to capture accounting measures or financial measures. They're universal, and by that we mean finance teams in practically every organization are looking at these. So some examples of financial metrics are things like income statements, P&Ls, balance sheets. Organizations that are selling are probably looking at other financial metrics like deferred revenue or day sales outstanding. Because these financial metrics are often used to inform investors or regulators, organizations are taking a lot of care to make sure that these financial metrics are accurate and that they're complete. So the finance team typically exerts a great deal of control over how transactions are captured, recorded, and reported for these financial metrics. But these financial metrics are only half the story. The second type of metric that's really important to track performance are what we call business metrics. And these business metrics could be accounting or financial in nature, or they could be measuring operational aspects of your performance. And unlike financial metrics, they tend to be unique. They're unique to your industry, they're unique to your individual organization, or even unique to your organization at a specific point in time. And by that I mean what's important for you to measure today may not be the same thing you measure a year from now. And these metrics go by different names in different organizations. They may be what you call key performance indicators or operational metrics, or the reports that are part of your management packet that's unique to your organization. And again, examples of what's unique and important can vary by industry. So if you're a services organization that's rolling out a new service, you might want to look at expense breakdown by service offering. If you're a nonprofit that views everything through the lens of programs, you might want to look at funding, expenses, all through how programs are performing along those business metrics. If you're a software company, a big transition that's happening in the software industry over the course of the last several years are companies that have been traditionally on-premises software companies that are rolling out new SaaS and cloud services. So if it's central to your strategy to build out a SaaS business, you're probably going to want to look at a P&L for your on-premises business separately from your SaaS business, and you may want to look at other metrics that are different by this dimension as well. So these business metrics tend to be unique to what you're trying to do from a strategic perspective, what you're trying to do from an operational perspective. Another important difference between financial metrics and business metrics is that over time, you're likely looking at the same financial metrics year in and year out. But what happens over time with business metrics is that you're likely going to want to look at different business metrics. While it might be really important to you today, as a software company, to look at, how your on-premise and how your SaaS business works separately, a year from now, what might be critical to a software company's growth might be launching a VAR channel to complement your direct channel. So you would want to look at metrics broken down by channel. The point is that what's important to you from a business perspective and measuring from business metrics change over time. Now, these business metrics are so important to help manage performance that many organizations have gone through a lot of trouble to get at them on a consistent basis, either by trying to segment their chart of accounts to be able to look at the business by different business drivers, or by using custom fields in their financial management application to track the business, or by resorting to external tools like Excel or formal reporting systems to do that management reporting. Now, all of these approaches are difficult to manage, especially as your organization evolves and grows. What we've done with Flex Reporting in Intacct is make it easy for you to get at the business metrics that are relevant to you while ensuring that those business metrics are as accurate and as complete as your financial metrics. So really, in short, Flex Reporting makes it straightforward for you to understand and manage what's important to you. It helps with not just the universal financial metrics, but with the business metrics that are unique to your situation. And Flex Reporting gives you those business metrics with the completeness, with the accuracy, and with the timeliness you need from a financial system of record, but in a way that easily handles change in your business without saddling your finance or IT teams with a lot of work and without forcing you to use external reporting tools. So just before we get to the demo, I wanted to give you a closer look at how Flex Reporting works and how it does that. There are really two important pieces of Intacct technology under Flex Reporting. The first is our Flex Dimensional General Ledger. And so this unique general ledger captures both the business context of your data along with the data itself. Every transaction in the system, every budget, and even operational measures that you can store in Intacct statistical accounts are tagged with dimension values that capture the business meaning of that data as that data enters the system. So this tagging is comprehensive and it's real time. For example, a purchase order can be entered into the system along with dimension values that may capture the location it's associated with, the department, the employee, the project. Now, as this happens, accounting maintains complete control and oversight over the possible values that get used as the data is entered. And this is really important to help ensure, again, the quality of the business metrics that you're getting. So, for example, the entering of dimension values can be made mandatory for transactions that hit specific GL accounts. Dimension values can be dependent on each other, so values for one dimension can default to a specific value based on what the user enters for another dimension. And most importantly, what we do at Intacct is ensure that accounts stay in balance based on dimension values using an auto-balance capability. So all of these features ensure that accounting maintains control and your data is complete and it's accurate. And Intacct offers 8 pre-built dimensions to help you track things like location, customer, project, and item. But we also give you the freedom to track any business driver that's important to you with user-defined dimensions. And this is what enables you to break down your views of business performance by any business driver that's important to your unique situation. The second component of Flex Reporting is our easy-to-use financial report writer that's been purpose-built to work with that Flex Dimensional general ledger. It offers a guided experience that walks you through the process of creating a report, providing you useful help along the way to make that process easy. But what we've also done with that report writer is we've integrated the notion of dimensions right within the user interface. And so what that means is that within this report writer, as you create rows in the report, as you create columns in the report, you can specify how you want information broken out by the business drivers that you care about. So these dimensions that are integrated into the UI give you predefined options and layouts for formatting your information, making it very convenient for you to slice, dice, and summarize the business metrics the way you want, easily creating the precise view of data that you need to monitor and manage your performance. So those are some of the core technology ingredients behind Intacct Flex Reporting. And now that we've covered how it works, I just want to touch briefly on why it's very unique. And there's really 2 important ways compared to any other method of getting at business metrics that are unique where Flex Reporting excels. What it does is it gives you access to high-quality business metrics, and it makes it easy for you to get those metrics. The metrics are comprehensive because dimensions can be used across budgets, transactions, and operational measures. The metrics are also real-time because the reports that show your business metrics use the same data set that captures transactions as they happen. And most importantly, the metrics are controlled, accurate, and complete thanks to features like auto-balancing entries, required values that give accounting control over that data. And Flex Reporting also gives you the business metrics right within your financial system of record, Intacct. So it's a self-contained solution. There's no need to use an external reporting system or run the risk of inaccuracies if you're manually creating reports in Excel. It's easy to capture the business meaning of your data because the dimensions are simple to set up. And it's easy to analyze and report on your business metrics because dimensions are integrated into the UI of our report writer. So David, I'm done with kind of setting the foundation here for Greg's demonstration, so I'd like to hand the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Vijay. And we will now be passing it off to Greg Stone, who will be doing the presentation on the demo. Just a couple of moments to give you a little background on Greg. Greg is the Senior Sales Engineer with Intacct and is focused on helping software and technology companies automate financial processes to enable them to gain better visibility into the business. Prior to Intacct, Greg spent over 11 years at Softrax, helping technology companies to understand and automate complex revenue recognition compliance. Having worked in and managed the finance departments of software and technology companies, Greg is always looking for ways to streamline and automate financial processes and reporting. And with that, I'll turn it over to Greg for the demo portion.
Thank you, David. So now as we get into the technology, the presentation here, let me start with a dashboard overview. And as we look at some of the components that Vijay was speaking about as far as the accounts, business metrics, and criteria, let me start with kind of a business overview here as we look at pulling together some of the financial information that we'll look at later on coming from the transaction streams. But giving you that ability to pull together, in a consolidated view, those key aspects of, in this case, the revenue streams as we look at maybe a graphical representation of revenue by product. And so you've got that flexibility to have the underlying transactional data accumulate and break down by those various dimensions that you're defining and using through the transaction streams. We see a few different views here on this dashboard as I look at, of course, the revenue by product in more of a graphical base. But as we look to the right report, we've got revenue versus plan. And so you've got the flexibility within the system to define various reports, be them more columnar-based reports or sometimes graphical representations may be easier to understand as you look at some of the key transactional criteria. But you also, as was mentioned earlier, have the ability to use those criteria across not only your actual financial values, but things like budgets and statistical information. As we see the comparison here by revenue category, actuals versus plan, and even trended out over time, looking at, in this case, the various time-based buckets, month, quarter, year. As we look down below, revenue by project, so utilizing another dimension within the transaction stream to be able to understand what's going on within the your transactional data, but in this case looking at the project-centric revenue stream. So products may be associated with the transaction, but it also may be associated with specific projects that roll up. And so you've got that flexibility to break down and analyze those business values through the various streams. As we look at this dashboard, I can bring in other components, be it more statistical or metrics-based information. I'm looking at headcount and even comparing that against plan. As I scroll down a little farther here in this dashboard, the ability to bring together other reporting aspects of the transaction stream, be it trending of that DSO or Day Sales Outstanding. As we look at the top right, the ability to bring together other types of metrics, in this case some sales statistics. I'm keeping track of on a monthly basis my customer counts, my deal counts, and from the contractual bookings values on a monthly basis and on a transaction basis, I'm actually calculating an average deal value. And then I have that ability, even within the calculations, to bring that into the reporting and even trend that out and even compare that against plans or forecasts. Other revenue streams, more software-centric, is as you look at the booking of transactions that may have been invoiced, may not have been invoiced, depending on the transactional details, those values that get accumulated into deferred revenue buckets. And so that ability to also look within the deferred revenue subledger, and in this case based on revenue streams, being able to also forecast that out over time. Now another key component of the transactional data that we're going to look at is that ability within the dashboard to also bring together workflow processes. So we see on the right here I've got an approvals process in play. And so I have the ability not only to serve that up, in this case by vendor, but be able to also bring that up right within the dashboard and be able to allow the user to action those items right from the transactions and details, and even if necessary, drill down into source transactional data right from those workflow cues. But as we look at really what is kind of at the foundation of all of this, it's really this modern GL approach, that's based on this dimension architecture that allows you to drive in and establish all of this reporting right from the transaction streams. Let me go over to another view here, and I just want to highlight the use of some of the other dimensions to drive into the analysis, and then we'll get into some more detailed transactions and actually use of the details within the Flex reporting structure. But as we look here, I've got certainly that ability on the right side of the screen to bring forward more traditional-based financial reporting. So I've got my GAAP income statement, my GAAP balance sheet, but I've also got that ability to break down, again, those revenue streams, but now bring in the employee aspect. And so looking at that revenue per employee calculation and how that trends out over time. Again, same sales statistics, maybe a different consumer of this information among the management team, but your ability to configure these views uniquely around what the users need to see. But as we scroll down a little bit farther, comparisons is focus more on revenue streams. So again, revenue versus plan, graphically based versus the report or columnar based. Being able to look at the traditional cash flow statement. Again, deferred revenue streams. But as I scroll down a little bit farther here, other breakdowns from the transactional data, pulling out bookings. So as you establish the transaction, I'm booking a contract up front. It's going to behave differently downstream through the transaction process. It may get billed up front, it may get billed over time. Revenue may be earned up front, revenue may be earned over time. It may be earned percent complete. So you've got that flexibility to define all of those transactional criteria and have them flow through the system and ultimately into all of the detail reporting. Now what I want to do is drill into a little bit of the detailed transactional process, really to highlight how that dimension-based information really is available within the transaction streams. And so let me drill down on a particular customer here within my invoicing cycle. And as I drill into a particular invoice, I want to highlight some of the dimension details that can be captured through the transaction stream. Certainly I'm billing the customer, so I have the customer criteria. I have at the line item level the item or product criteria. But as I expand this line item out, I can see many of the other dimension-based criteria coming into this transaction, and in this case, this particular line item. So I'm certainly associating this license value with a particular location, a particular department. I'm bringing in, again, that customer. But I'm also associating this particular value with a project, and in this case, a percent complete revenue recognized project. And so again, that ability to drive those dimensions into the detailed transaction streams, so that then we'll have that flexibility downstream to slice and dice all of that information using the flex reporting. Now, as a byproduct of some of the software-centric, revenue streams, you've got that flexibility to drive into the deferred revenue subledger the detailed reporting that you need right from within the system, and the ability to utilize some of those various dimension-based criteria so that I can look at my deferred revenue forecast quickly and easily based on customer, that being one of the primary criteria. That's who I'm billing at the top level of the transaction. But that ability to easily forecast that out over time right from that particular dimension criteria. And I can easily toggle that view right to another dimension and go to the item. And in this particular case, have a different view of that deferred revenue forecast, but now broken down and forecasted out in the time-based buckets, but based on the item criteria as it resides really at the line item level of the transaction stream. Now, let me shift into another transactional stream. And so that you've got the ability through the transaction processes, really all of the transaction processes, the ability to capture all of those dimension criteria. So as I take this particular transaction, let's drill into an AP bill for Dell Corporation here. So I've bought and paid for something from Dell. I want to be able to understand and record this at that detail level. I'm certainly just paying the vendor, so I'm recording that expense. But we can see down here at the line item level that I'm also capturing, in this case, the services department dimension. Again, the San Francisco location. But I'm also tying this to that particular project that also had the invoicing transaction associated with it. So I'll be able to capture revenue associated with the project and cost associated with the project right from two different detailed transaction streams. Again, associated with the customer, in this case the vendor dimension, and even on the right here, even an employee being captured for this. Maybe this is the resource that's being assigned to actually maybe configure this particular piece of equipment for the particular project. So all of those detailed dimensions can be captured right through the transactional streams. One other key transaction I want to drill into is through the more traditional journal entry process. Certainly most of the transactional data is flowing in from the subledgers so that you have all of that detailed transaction values and dimensions captured. But what about maybe external data, things like payroll entries? And so you've got, again, that flexibility to even import journal entries and carry with those the detailed dimensions and data that you want to capture. So as I drill into my April month-end payroll, I can see that I'm importing that from ADP, but I'm also capturing the breakdown of those values, be it salaries, benefits, insurance, and I'm breaking that down by, in this case, department and location. If I had further detail available, I could even break that down by project or even down to the employee level, but I typically don't want that in my general ledger. So you've got that flexibility even to import transactional data with all of the appropriate dimensional details. Now what I want to do is drill into some of that detail reporting. Let's look at some reports and let's look at the flexibility of this flex reporting that you really can drive right from the native reporting within the system. Here I've got gone into the report center, really that centralized access to all reporting. Certainly users have the ability to get into reporting depending on their responsibilities from within each of the ledgers and subledger areas. But there's also that central access to all reporting. And then that flexibility to specifically identify by at a user level, what are my favorite reports? And then within any of those reports, quickly and easily generate those reports right from your screen. Here I can generate out a variety of formats, certainly the HTML or on-screen interactive view, PDFs, which may be used for the presentation quality output, and maybe email distributions of reports, processing, Excel, even scheduling reporting. But as I generate this report, what we've got the flexibility to do here is use any of the dimensions that you're assigning to the particular report runtime criteria. Specifically select, in this case, maybe a project, maybe a group of projects or a category of projects. But as you run this report, you'll have that flexibility to see all of the detail based on how you've laid out the report, but with full drill down access. So here from this view, I'm looking at the revenue streams, my costs, operating expenses, and even time accumulators specifically associated with an individual project. As I drill into the actual product line item, I've got that ability to see the account or accounts that roll up into that line. And as I drill down on an amount, even the ability to get right down to a detailed invoice level right from that specific report and drill down query. So all of the detail available, that specific line item going to the specific revenue account, but even the department and location criteria associated with that specific revenue out value. But now let me go back and let's look at some of the other criteria. I'm looking at the revenue stream. I can also drill down on any of the costs associated with that particular report. It's specific to that project, and even get down to the timesheet entries. So all of the detailed transactional data associates with the various dimensions, and then it has the ability to accumulate up right into that reporting. Other components of the report as it relates to maybe the G&A, maybe there is some, in this case, expense report data that I can even drill down on right from there. I've got a hotel bill that's being turned in by an employee that is tied to that particular project. So again, all of those detailed criteria quickly and easily available as you look at the details of the reporting. And even into the actual, some of the metrics, those time accumulators being pulled in, right down to even the timesheet entries, in this case of the 40 hours that were entered in that particular timesheet, accumulated for that particular project. So again, a lot of flexibility around how you can generate the reports and have all of that dimension detail available within the reporting structure. Now what I want to do is really get into the financial reporting wizard and really the capability for you to use the Flex reporting in an interactive fashion. So let me drill into a particular report here. Let me actually go into the wizard from this view. And so I'm drilling down on a particular report. Let's actually pull this up to start with as a preview. So I have a very simplistic report here. I'm looking at various revenue categories being summarized up into this basic P&L. I'm looking at a subset of my customers, specific customer category. I'm accumulating some costs, and I'm getting a net income position for this particular set of customers. But now, as I go back to the wizard, I can see some of the flexibility and really the ease of use to the user of the reporting. Let's go over to the column layout. And from here, I've got the ability to very simply create a report or even adjust the report on the fly. Here I've got my, of course, description column, my financial column that in this case was that quarter view. But what about changing that view and expanding that by any of the dimensions? So I have a subset of customers here in this report. Let's expand that column and look at them based on the customers contributing to the revenue and the costs. Quickly and easily refresh that, that report, and now I'm going to have an entirely different look to that report. It's automatically going to expand out a new column for each and every one of the customers that is actually involved in the revenue streams and cost streams in this particular report. So quick and easy access to pull all of that data together, generate that report and view, but have a lot of flexibility and really downstream efficiency as it relates to using the dimension architecture. So as things change, in this case, as you add customers that may get assigned to this category would automatically show up as a new column in this particular report. So no requirement to go in and do any changes to your chart of accounts or to go in and make any changes to your reports because they'll naturally use all of the dimension flexibility. And now let's take that same report and let's shift to a slightly different view. Let's just expand that column by months. I'm looking at a particular quarter bucket, but now I want to automatically expand that into the monthly view. And so it will quickly and easily make those changes and represent that report for you. But now I've used the customer dimension within the column or header of the report. Let's go and use some of those dimensions at the row level. So again, very easy to use within the Flex reporting, that ability to go into and easily define reports, define all of your formatting quickly and easily on easy to understand user screens, but easily able to, add other criteria. Do I need to add another account group? But in this case, let's take some of those revenue lines and let's look at some of that dimension detail. So if I go into my product revenue, let's expand that by dimension, and let's expand that by the customer dimension. So we saw the customer contribution or breakdown across the top, but now I can add a dimension at a detail row level and get an entirely different representation in that report. So now within this 3-month period, I have the 3 customers based on their contribution to the product revenue line. Now there may be other customers contributing to the other revenue buckets, but that ability to easily just expand on just the dimension criteria for that particular row and breakdown. I can again utilize a variety of dimensions within this report. So I could have chosen other criteria, be it project or other attributes. But let's go down to the subscription line and let's expand that by item or product. So again, the flexibility to easily adjust those reports and views and even bring in different dimensions associated with different summation lines. I've got my product revenue by customer. I've got my subscription revenue by item or product. I can continue to expand on the details in this report. If I want to look at, say, my services revenue, that's typically accumulated at a project level. So then let's go to that project dimension and let's adjust that view. And now I have 3 different dimensions being utilized to expand the financial representation of this particular report. So again, product revenue by customer, subscription revenue by product, services revenue by project, even non-project roll-ups being captured. So with or without the dimension, you'll have all of that detail accumulated within each of those lines. But now let's go one more level deep, and let's go down to that cost section, and let's expand by another dimension. We certainly could expand by project or any of the dimensions I've used above, but let's go down to the employee or resource level. Cost is typically driven based on an employee's time being recorded. So now let's go up, generate that report. And now again, we'll have another level of detail being represented within the cost area, where I can see that Mike Gillette is the primary resource across all 3 months of work associated with all of the revenue for these particular customers within this category. So again, a lot of flexibility using the power of the dimensions through the transaction streams to be able to generate all of this detail reporting right by the user, right from within the system. David, that pretty much covers what I wanted to go through in the Flex reporting. Let me turn it back over to you now.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. And as we transition back and move into our Q&A session, I want to remind everyone, if you have questions for Greg, please use the question box in the GoToWebinar panel, and we will try to get to your questions as we transition here. And really appreciate that. That's definitely very flexible and powerful. Great presentation. Thank you. So for our first question from the audience comes as, can dashboard views be restricted by roles and permissions? And I'll send that over to you, Greg.
Sounds good. Absolutely they can. You've got a lot of flexibility at the user level and at the security level to really control and define that segregation of duties and segregation of access to information so that you can have and define reports that users can have or not have, dashboards that users can have access to, or even dashboards that you can make generically available that based on a user's rights within the system can auto-filter the data for them. So if somebody's, say, in a multi-entity environment and you create kind of an overview dashboard and somebody has only rights to one of the business units, when they open that dashboard, they'll only see the information in the reports and on that view for that particular entity. So yes, very good controls around what you can make available and what users can see within the system in the dashboards and reports.
Great. Our next question comes on, are there standard and pre-built reports available? And can you talk a little bit about how that's done and what's out there?
Absolutely, and a very good question. There are lots and lots of reports standard within the system. Of course, at the heart of the system is really the financial subledger and ledgers from all of the other modules. So you've got a lot of just standard reporting that you would expect right out of, say, a general ledger, your trial balances, your detail reports, receivables, payables, all of that detail reporting, as well as even some standard financial reports. So you'll have the framework in place for your traditional standard financial reports. But within all of the reporting within the system, it's all native to the system that's designed as a user at a user level to configure and adjust reports. And you have the flexibility within the reports to actually use the duplicate feature. So if you have a report that's close to what you want, but other users have and use that report, you don't want to go and change their report. You can duplicate that report and then make your changes quickly and easily there, and then save that even as your own report that maybe they don't see and don't have. So you've got a lot of flexibility, to take and utilize the many, many different standard reports in the system to expand out into all of the custom or configurable financial reports and ad hoc reports that you want to define that may be general ledger centric, more financial statement based, graphical reports, and even more what I call ad hoc reports that are more centric specifically to the subledgers. You may want a specific report looking at some history against your accounts payable vendors over a particular time or in a particular geography. So you've got all of that flexibility to use the reporting wizards within the system to quickly and easily generate any of those reports.
Great. I want to remind everyone, if you do have a question, please use the question box in your GoToWebinar panel. We want to make sure everyone has a chance to get your questions in. And if we don't get time for it today, we'll make sure that the speaker gets back to you directly. Our next question is, what are some examples of operational or business metric data?
Another good question, and a lot of that really is, centric to each business environment. Is it software-centric business metrics? Is it charity or nonprofit-based metrics? You're looking at givers. You're looking at on software side, bookings, deferred revenue. You've got the ability using what we call statistical accounts to drive in and capture any of that kind of business metric-centric data and drive that into the reports and views. So I covered a couple in the kind of dashboard views where I looked at some of the sales statistics or headcount numbers. Others may be where you want to keep track of more of a subscription-based model, subscriber counts, and is it total subscribers, counts of subscribers, new subscribers. You want to have a report that actually trends that out, but may also calculate churn or retention ratios. Do you want to calculate and capture and define cost to acquire or CAC ratios? So you've got a lot of flexibility to configure those as you see fit for your business. Capture what you can from the transaction streams. You can also create journals and import data associated with some of that statistical or metrics-based information, and then drive those again into the reports, views, trends, and even graphical representations.
Great. On these reports as you're developing them, is this something someone at the finance organization can typically do, or is it require some IT help?
Well, it's really designed to be, the business user who is defining and building and creating these reports. And we really want to put it in the user's hands so that you don't need, external help to try and build and customize reports. You need to have that flexibility quickly and easily on a day-to-day basis to be able to go in and adjust those reports. And that's why I wanted to get into that kind of flex reporting, detail report and breakdown using those dimensions within the wizard so that you can see that it's really designed to be a consumer reporting tool so that you've got a lot of that flexibility and the capability to just pick the criteria you want in the report rather than trying to understand the underlying infrastructure in the system. You want to be able to just choose from the common language that you're expecting from the transactional details. I want to grab a particular dimension. I want to expand on a particular period or time frame. So it's really designed to be, a user reporting capability.
Great. Next question is on running these reports. Can you schedule them periodically versus running them all ad hoc?
You absolutely can, and that was something I just kind of skipped over in the report center, is that ability for you to actually go down into a report. You can actually define a schedule for that report. You can actually define runtime parameters, so if you want a particular report to run with a certain criteria, you can schedule it to run with that. You can schedule whatever frequency you want. You may have some flash reports that you want to run every day. You actually want to, say, email those out to department heads automatically. And so you can actually schedule those. You can create a list of email addresses those are going to be distributed to. You can define whether you want them to get an Excel version of that report or maybe it's a PDF version of that report. You've got all of that flexibility built into the report center to create those schedules and have those, in essence, automatically distributed for you. You can even go beyond what I talk about as kind of a single report distribution and schedule. You can even create report groups. So, a lot of companies, once they close out, month end or, periodically, monthly, maybe it's weekly, there's a group of reports that need to be distributed out. Maybe it's the monthly P&L by department, and, so you've got that flexibility to actually group those reports and even schedule those for distribution automatically, be it, monthly, quarterly. Is it one report? Is it 5 reports? And again, do they go out by email? Do they go out as an attached PDF? All of that flexibility as you kind of create that reporting infrastructure and really that distribution methodology.
Great. One last question here. Is the core financial data viewable over the Internet?
Absolutely. It's a cloud-based solution, so everything you saw here today is, I'm using it in this case via Firefox, so I'm logging in via the Internet, so really any, Internet-enabled, browser-enabled device can really get at the system and get at the transactional processes, the reports, any of that underlying infrastructure. So it's all internet-based, cloud-based, via any, really via any browser.
Great. Well, I want to thank you, Greg and Vijay, for those insights and demonstration on the flexibility. It's a very strong tool. I'm sure lots of people are going to want to be talking to you more on. I'm sorry if we didn't get to all your questions, but we will work with today's speakers to get them answered for you directly after today's webinar. Last few housekeeping items before we finish the webinar today, at which time you'll be prompted to take a short survey. We truly value your feedback and appreciate your time to help us continue this great content. At that time, you can easily request a connection with our speakers and sponsors at a click of your mouse. Please join us on Proformative.com to continue this great discussion. Just a quick reminder that we will be holding our CFO Dimension Conference on August 21st and 22nd in New York. I'd like to invite you to this premier event, and we will be sending you out a promotional code to give you special early bird pricing for those who register by June 28th. I want to thank Intacct for their sponsoring this webinar today, and I want to thank Greg and Vijay for their time and insight. It was a great demo on how this technology can help us deliver complete and accurate information, show us how we can drill down and ultimately provide better information and tools in our daily jobs here. So great job, guys. I also want to take this time to thank you, the audience, for your time. After we close down the webinar, you'll be prompted to take a short survey. If you can please ask you to participate so we may get better, deliver the right type of content and webinar to you, we would greatly appreciate it. Also, there you'll have the opportunity to request a connection to our speakers, introduction to Intacct, or request more information on CFOD with a click of your mouse. Thank you again. We hope to see you on another Performative event or online at Proformative.com. Have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.